which brings us to you.
To me.
We're getting to you right now. I have been fascinated by you. So I meet you, you're like a kid. How old are you? 15, 18?
When you met me
Yeah.
down the street in Vacation Village,
Yeah.
I was but a child.
But a child.
Yeah. You said to your family, doesn't he have the perfect nose?
I said that? I was always jealous of good noses.
Yeah, I was like 7. When I was born, my parents bought a place in Vacation Village, so I was a child. Yes,
You were
I
a
was
child.
Yeah.
And you were just talking to him as a
Just
little
talking to him.
child.
You're like,
sending
boy,
him messages.
come here.
One day we're gonna do a podcast together, and I'm gonna hate them.
Yeah. So yes, as a small kid,
It's called
And
grooming.
then-
Grooming, I think,
And
is the
then I
term.
run into you later on as an adult.
Yeah.
And you have this knack for impressions that nobody does. You start doing people that most people don't know, like a rabbi of a shul, like Rabbi Muskin. Give it to me.
Absolutely not. Totally. A lot of people know me. Actually, they just go to Yick.
That is scary. So I go, wait, that's like unbelievable. And I just love, because like I would also do a, Rabbi Marvin Heyer.
Sure.
He's the head of the Simon Wiesenthal Center. And Rabbi Heyer
The
is,
center.
right. The thing with Rabbi
I
Heyer
know
is
that guy.
because he does these gala dinners
bro.
every year where he has like the biggest stars in the world.
Yes.
From whatever. He had Chris Rock host once. He always has like Scarlett Johansson. So he's in that world of LA where he's like doing these. He won an Oscar.
He's in nonprofit Jewish showbiz.
But also
Sent him an email
always
once.
loves to drop big stars' names. So he would be saying like, I was having lunch with Tom Cruise, and we were sitting there, and he said that the Simon Wiesenthal Center is the most important center. Anyway, the point is,
I recognize that from your tissue book.
that's exactly
Then he took a
what I'm
laxative.
doing. I'm also doing him in my Christmas tree bit. When you light the left to right, but yeah.
That's what that's from.
Yeah,
you borrowed
all
Marvin Heyer.
The Gemara is Rabbi
Shout
Heyer.
out. Yeah.
So I see you doing Rabbi Muskin. Then you do. There was a few others. Who else do you do? Who else? There would no, like early on, like people like no one knows. You were doing other people, and I
In
went.
which world? I mean, are we talking like the Jewish world?
Yeah.
Or are we talking,
or even local LA people.
You just do friends and family.
And I was
parents.
just fascinated by you that you could do this so perfectly. And then I was a little sad for you. I was sad because I was like, here's a guy with this gift. God bestowed this gift upon him. And I don't even know what you're doing at the time. And I didn't even know you were in music, whatever. But I'm like, you're not
I
using...
told you a couple times.
Yeah. I'm like, you're not using...
We had a few coffee bean run-ins, but it...
You're, as your friend Jordan would say, you're not using your gifts. How
You're
would he-
not. What was that?
You're not.
So
You
then,
don't- yeah, you're not.
right.
You're unrecognized potential.
But now I'm still fascinated by you,
Yes,
right?
keep going.
And then all of a sudden, I see you doing Gary V. Now, if not for like one buddy going, you got to check this guy out on the internet. He's like motivational speaker. He's like really smart and good stuff. I'm like, all right, I guess I'll follow him. I'm like, oh, what a character he is, whatever.
Right?
Yeah. And then I see you doing Gary V. And I go, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. This is like up there, top 5 impressions in the history of impressions.
Yep.
Up there with like, with Jay Moore's Colin Quinn, which is the greatest thing you'll ever see. Like with like, Caliendo's John Matt. There's like top 5 greatest impressions ever. You're in that for Gary V. And I'm like, oh my God. And you're actually doing it on Instagram. So it's public. And then, but nobody knows Gary Vee. It's weird. But like you said, that's the key, to do the niche thing. And then those people will find you.
I prefer to go deep, not wide.
I mean, how do you even discover Gary Vee? And how do you say, I want to do him? Or does it just come to you? Because that people always ask me, do you work on it? Or does it come? Usually it just comes to you.
Yeah, it's less intentional than you
Right,
think.
it's less
It's more
intentional.
about following the heat a little bit. What happens, I think what happened was, for a long time, I looked at social media when I was doing, so I'm a musician too, and we would post like social media stuff. I was always looking at it as the commercial, like go on social media and broadcast. Like the way you said, it kind of is icky. You're like, come to my show here, come to this, got this new thing coming out. And as I started using it through TikTok, I began to discover that, oh, wait a minute. Social media is not the commercial, it's the show.
It is the show.
That was a big turning point for me. That was the chiddush.
It is everything.
So I didn't discover that yet until I just said, okay, TikTok's this thing. It's not a household name yet, but I'm seeing it, and everyone's like, yo, you gotta try TikTok. You gotta see what this is. And I was kind of early to it, not like the beginnings, but before it was everywhere and ubiquitous, I downloaded TikTok, and I started saying, "Wait, what should I do here? Let me just post daily, 5 days a week, something funny." I was doing some music stuff too, but impressions were easy. Low, not much barrier to actually making something. I'd throw up an impression. I was doing anybody. I would do a Gilbert Gottfried. I'd do, Robert Downey Jr., whatever it would be,
But it's
Bernie Sanders.
The people that no one knows, Jordan Peterson.
So then one day in my car, I just threw it up and said, "Oh, I came across like Gary Vee on my TikTok feed, right?"
Mm-hmm.
They were just talking about Uber, right? So like, I throw up my
greatest thing.
I throw up my phone and I do the Gary Vee. I was like, I'm just so sick of fucking 20, 40-year-olds like complaining that they're not killing it, right? If you want to win, move to Louisiana and start a peanut butter company, right? Like blueberries, right? Start a peanut butter company.
Greatest.
I throw it and my thumb is going like this. I'm like, yeah, I can fine tune this. I don't know if I've cracked it yet. I got a piece of it. But I threw it up on TikTok, and then I had a TikTok moment where like I refreshed a couple hundred views, couple thousand views, all within 15 minutes, 14,000, 20,000,
That's
50,000. By the end of the weekend, couple 100,000 views. And I'm like, whoa,
nuts.
Then Barstool Sports like messages me and says, "Hey, is this the original like creator?" They feature it on their page. Long story short, I went from like not having any feeling like I had any sort of audience online to feeling like I had an audience, and then an Instagram creator from like FuckJerry, that account, like gathering memes and stuff like that. Like, I have some advice for you if you want it.
The Ganif is what we call it.
What
True.
was it? What was the advice?
The advice was like, I was ready to be like, okay, so you've seen the Gary Vee one video, check out all this other stuff. I also do this, and I make me. But he's like, lean into this.
Wow.
Because you think a lot of people have seen this. No one has seen this.
Right.
Lean into what's hot. Like, it's hard enough to find something that really works, and like channel your creativity into this.
Wow.
Because while you think it's gonna get old, like it won't for a long time.
And you became the Gary
And that was a
Vee
good
guy.
piece of advice. It was sage advice. I was like,
great advice.
and I was like, you have a hit song, play the hit song.
Yes.
Have it get circulation. So I started saying, let me do as many bits and funniness, and let me drain this as much as I can of what funny I could find in this character. Wow. And Jordan Peterson came from the same story where I did it on YouTube, where I threw up a YouTube clip of just a random 1 minute sitting in my car before I went inside, a Jordan Peterson impression. And he was like kind of off the public scene for a little while. And that blew up on YouTube. So that started bringing me a YouTube audience. And the different platforms responded in different ways to these impressions. And that sort of took me, I sort of followed the heat a little bit. Right. I wasn't like, I want to be a Gary Vee impersonator. It was like, no.
Of course.
And then I started putting it into sketches and bits.
And then the Harry thing. And that's the other thing.
That's a sort of a newer one.
And that's amazing. But you don't just do the impression. You write great jokes with it. It's always funny and impression.
I think it's a party trick without the meat of writing.
I think there's...
It's like shredding on a guitar. If you get on stage and you go, look what I can do. Everyone's going to be like, cool. And after a minute, they're going to be like, but you need a song.
Right.
You need real substance behind these things. And then they enhance that. If you don't write things to it, and the thing about the other ones is like there's an improvisational element too, but that's kind of also, there's a writing component. You have a foundation of the character.
And then the question is, so now you've found a lot of success.
Yeah.
What is the goal? Like, where are you going with this? Like, again, for me, it was SNL.
Right.
Like, what's the goal?
It's honestly, I don't think about that. I think about process.
That's amazing.
I think.
By the way, Michael's so sick of the Gary Vee.
You know what's
Michael came with me to VCon.
Oh, he did?
I took him.
I love Omni, and I think he's a brilliant impressionist. I don't hear the Gary Vee.
Oh, that's crazy.
I actually don't like the Gary Vee impression.
Okay, I don't care about Michael's opinions.
I know. I'm a big supporter.
Yeah, he likes Jordan Peterson more.
Yeah, Jordan Peterson.
And my grandfather.
I think he's great. No,
the grandfather.
Of course, Elon. You know that the voice is there. Very good.
That's that must
Oliver
be an
Stone.
exact impression.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what's up. For whatever reason, it doesn't land with me.
You don't hear.
Like,
that
I know
sounds
Gary
like
Vee
it.
pretty
Michael's
well.
hearing impaired.
You know when you know it's a perfect impression? Not only is the voice and the mannerisms perfect, it's when you can say exactly what he or she would say and riff.
Right.
And that's what you do.
riffing.
What you say is a funny
And
version.
when the guy,
Michael's like, eh.
and when the guy doing the impression invites you to his conference.
to do it.
That's
So
what I'm
clearly,
saying.
you're in the minority there,
Yeah, no,
Michael.
I'm.
He admits that.
Obviously,
But he was at VCon. That was
obviously,
wrong.
obviously, it's a hit. But
I
yeah,
did
no, I'm
Purim shtick
saying,
on
I don't know,
steroids for
whatever
the
it
masses.
is.
VCon,
Yeah.
Purim shtick on steroids. Like you said, you felt like right as rain on curb. When I was at VCon, I'm like, this is where I'm supposed to be right now. Like that's beating the game. Like imagine aiming at a target, and then I opened VCon conference with Gary.
Unbelievable.
It was pretty
Are you
wild.
trying to say you're going to be on the Crown doing Harry stuff?
Oh, I don't know.
That's what I was going to say about.
But the next thing you're saying is first where this all leads to.
Yeah,
There's
where's
sort
it
of an
go?
unknown as far as what social media, like what does a follower mean as a support? Like how do you translate that?
Right.
But ultimately, like the idea of patronage, the idea of building an audience that can support you, that can fill rooms for when I develop my hour or 45
that's the
minutes.
thing you have to do.
Yeah,
because you're naturally good at stand-up.
Right.
So now you have the following. All you need to do is build the act.
Correct.
And you'll be
That's where
selling
I'm at.
out theaters.
That's exactly where I'm at.
Like there are people without acts who have like 1 million followers and sell out theaters, and then they like just sing or say hi or do Q&As or whatever.
Right.
Like you could actually.
So I'm looking at it's for me right now. It's stage time, like stage time, same time. I don't want to be in front of an audience that I'm not ready for.
Right.
I don't want to be up there.
Well, that's why we
and
didn't ask you to do Chosen yet.
Right. And not okay. Right. That's why. No, yeah, okay. No.
Oh, this is good. Yeah.
Honestly,
let me ask you this.
Honestly, for the better. I like that when something doesn't work out, I'm like, okay, the next time I'll be even more primed and ready for it and more comfortable with it. Like that's great. But
you're so versatile and you have the music.
So the music, the comedy thing, it's like that synthesis of what that all becomes is all being developed right now, and I'm patient with it because I just want the stage time to work out comedy stuff in front of an audience, and then I have like this loop sampling stuff and stuff that I do that's like
and how
all
does
a part of it. There's like a Bo Burnham.
The wife handle everything because it's so interesting because she could see it as like, oh, what are you doing?
Right.
You're just messing around and you're doing dumb videos
Right.
and what are you doing? But now you can't deny success. You can't deny. What do you have? How many thousands of followers do you have?
TikTok is 220,000.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
So you can't deny that. Now that's success.
Yeah.
And now she can't like frown upon you just goofing off in your car or your office and like, what are you doing? Help with the kids. I'm working. And that's not and you're just doing stupid voices. Has there been any recognition and acknowledgement of, oh my God, even the comedy? I know you did well with music and and you're paying
Well, my
the
wife
bills.
will do like with anything is like when I'm doing funny bits, like there's like a bit of a what is this? But then she'll like give me suggestions behind the scenes.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and I'm sure your wife after a show, like, what's the post game with your wife on like does she critique in a good way? Like, you missed this, you could have done this better.
Yeah, and it's irritating.
Well, that's
But
why
when
you were saying earlier, he said, but people say, oh, I don't want to swallow your head, but you're doing great. I'm just thinking I know you're thinking to yourself, listen, I have
a
plenty
Jewish
of
wife.
negativity, or just like
No, but
take out
holding
the
you
garbage
to
right now.
your highest standard and making sure that you're focused and centered and like and not just like
Yeah,
getting
but
lost
there's
in
also a shift of like first 10 years coming to every set and
Yeah.
being the cheerleader and supporter, and then like, oh yeah, I'll see you when you get back.
it. Right.
You know, but she's still obviously supportive and was never like doubtful of anything. It's just always that cheerleader, but it became from rah to like, yeah, okay, go to work and then come back. And then it's like, if she'll come to like a Chosen Fest, because that's like a big thing, and I'll even bring the kids, whatever.
Right.
And literally the last Chosen Fest, I came off stage and everyone's like, amazing set. Oh my God, you killed it.
Right.
And then the wife is just like, so we going to the, I'm like, no, nothing, not even like a good set. You know, you killed it up there.
that's what I said. I said I think the Gemara. Yes, I'm going to bring it back in. That you have two pockets. One pocket, the note says, "I am nothing but dust and ashes." The other one says, "The world was created for me," just to keep you in check. I feel like the Jewish parent is in one pocket. It says, "I make 6 figures a year." The other pocket says, "My daughter pooped in the tub." Like just to keep you just completely. Just in check, so you don't.
Or if you're married, both pockets say you're a schmuck, and go take out the garbage.
Also, the thing is, what I will
before.
tell you that I think anybody like when you're like comedy, you're either the king or the clown. If
Right.
when you get on stage and if you're a musician and you've been putting your time and your years, like music is protection, like a little bit from the audience in some way. You can go up on stage, you play a set that you're happy with. People connect to it, some people don't. You could kill, you could not, but like even if you don't. That's okay. You don't like walk away. Your ego's kind of intact. But with comedy, like people personalize it to the comedian. Even though you're channeling jokes and humor, it's much more audience dependent and much more of a thing where like, you want to make sure that you are not coming
That's
off
why I never understood why Frank Sinatra said I was nervous before every single show. I'm like, why? You just have to sing.
Yeah.
Same ones.
The same.
That
My
people love.
way. Okay. Yeah. Oh, wow. Oh, I'm nervous. What is he nervous about? There's 10,000 people dying to just see him stand there.
Right.
And then just sing a couple of songs that you're reading off the prompter. That's nerve-wracking to him?
As opposed to a bunch of Jews going, "We saw him last year."
Yeah, we saw this. Does he have any new stuff?
But also, no, it's just that the way they judge it is different. They're like, they judge it as you. Like, that is you. Not like, I didn't like the song. They're like, I didn't like you. And
It's
if
very
if
personal.
a joke kind of bombs, it like you feel the sting instantaneously, and then you got to work through it. And seasoned comics can sort of work through silence in very healthy ways. And
No,
and
I've
know
said
it's
that we're door-to-door salesmen,
Yeah.
but our product is you.
Yeah.
You're just selling yourself.
I think your stand up is gonna take off when you start selling you more than the voices and the bits.
That was the
and
evolution
you can do all of it together, but but
of
still
course.
projecting like. Yeah.
Hey, listen.
That was the exact evolution that I experienced.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when my brother said to me, he goes, "That was the first time I ever saw you speak on stage." And this is like 8 years into doing stand-up, because all I did was hide behind impressions. But when you do start speaking and then you develop a voice and a point of view, that's when things really start like clicking.
And it's hard, especially from our community. You have kids in school, like you're part of the community. Like being vulnerable publicly is like dangerous.
And also being edgy and dirty. That was the thing too.
Right.
A lot of the Gary Vee stuff lent itself to stuff that was pretty, risque.
Very risque.
And I took that risk, and like I sort of am
Carpool at
reevaluating
Maimonides
some
was
of that.
not fun for you.
No, I didn't get to, people enjoyed it, because when something is funny, it has a very disarming even if something. I have rabbis who've said like, I watch your stuff like when I'm in the bathroom. I'm like, interesting. Like they say, I don't want. I watch. Listen, I've seen. Keep going. Like like when you do a show for a bunch of chazim, like say whatever you want.
Right.
There's an element to that if it's funny, it tends to be okay.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, when your kids get older and you kind of reevaluate, like I don't know how you deal with that. Your kids have gotten older and seen you as your stuff is fairly on the cleaner side.
Fairly clean, but I have some edgy, dirty stuff, and I just tell them not to watch it.
Yeah.
Ultimately, they learn it all.
Yeah.
And
Never park, okay, guys? Never park.
Yeah, parking. What is he talking about when he does this parking bit?
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Well, they become adults and people of their own, and you have to accept that.
Exactly. Are we wrapping up?
Can I just say something?
Yes.
You're an
Yeah.
excellent podcaster.
Thank you. By the way,
That was a good.
was a
Those
very
were
great
great
episode.
questions, and those are great questions.
I should have my own podcast.
Should
if
think
I
about
didn't
it.
resent podcasts, I would have.
Just
a
remember,
podcast.
social media is not the commercial.
No, because
It's the show.
I'm naturally curious, and I'm much more curious about you and your journey and how you discover this talent, and then you start doing it. That was fascinating. Then on my own
sure you
story,
can
which I
relate.
know,
It's the same thing.
I could totally relate.
Yeah, yeah, and you were also good. Like I have a hard time cutting on me off, but you're really good at it.
I could
Like
cut off.
you guys went like
I
toe to
could cut
toe.
off anyone.
Any
at
quick
time.
impression off but to wrap up on a fun
Quick
little game,
impression
Michael?
off?
You could
because
say.
I held back.
Oh, should I throw ones out?
Yeah, let's see. Elon can be someone.